Hey, Pokedad fan club, it's me, Pokedad. I just finished recording the Mega Houndoom EX deck with Proxy since the breakthrough set isn't out yet. I was going to do a deck last week, but again, because I was on vacation and just things came up, I didn't get around to it. So, this week I'm actually going to do a standard deck, which is standard for us right now, the way it is. I want to say I think it's pretty competitive. Okay, now some people would disagree with me, it's one of those decks that you almost need to play before you can, believe it, see it to believe it, or play it to believe it. It's very, very budget. Okay, now I have I think maybe one card in here that's not budget. It's a Shaman EX, and when we talk about that, when we get to that, we'll talk about alternatives, what you can do. But other than that, I really feel that this deck is very, very budget friendly and yet still competitive. Now, having said that, this deck is a very annoying deck. It's a troll deck. And I did play it against my friends at the card shop the other day, and I feel like one of my friends was going to hit me. Because I was just like totally trolling him the whole time. Matter of fact, I actually had to stop playing and actually had to learn Yu-Gi-Oh just to calm him down. I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh before, but I started learning it because he was so frustrated. So I'm going to tell you now, this deck is very frustrating, but it is quite, it's kind of fun actually. So we're going to have two main players in this deck. We'll go through all of them in a minute, but I want to introduce the two main ones. It is also a mill deck. So we use Bunnelby in this deck, and we use Malamar. Now this Malamar is the Malamar from Ancient Origins. It is a common card. You can literally get this card for 10 cents if you haven't already got them in the packs that you may have bought. You should easily be able to find 4 Inkays and 4 Malamars. So with that, let's talk about what this deck can do, because just these two cards and some other disruption, and we can really cause our opponent some grief. All right. So if you haven't been familiar with Bunnelby, he came from Primal Clash. He has the Ancient trait, which is Omega Barrage, which allows him to attack twice per turn. He has 2 attacks. The first one is Burrow, which basically discards a card off the top of your opponent's deck. And then he has Rototiller, which basically allows you to take a card from your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. So it almost guarantees that you won't get milled out yourself, because you can Rototiller cards back if you need, or you can Burrow and mill them out. Now, I've featured him in other decks, like the Ninjask Bunnelby deck, but I would say that this deck is even better than that one, in my opinion. So, and actually, Bunnelby, we want to try to keep, we may start him, but we want to try to keep him on the bench if at all possible. We want to close, he's our closer in this game. Our main guy that we want to be using at the beginning of the game until he gets a few knockouts on him, and then we'll close off with Bunnelby, is Malamar. This is, again, the common card. It's a stage 1, so we got to use Inkay first and then evolve to Malamar, but that's not too difficult. So Entangled Control for a colorless allows you to take one of your bench Pokemon, one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, move them up to the active, and then put them in confusion. This is really awesome because unless they have a good way to retreat, like Fairy Garden, or they're a free retreater, or they play a lot of switching cards, this can be annoying because we can keep bringing, if they put energy and then retreat, attach and retreat, then the next turn we can bring another one, a different opponent's one up, or we can put the same one back up, confused. And so this causes them to almost have to attach energies to the active Pokemon, which is kind of what we want them to do, because we play a ton of Team Flare Grunts in this deck. We want them to attach to the active and either retreat, or if they do end up attacking with the active, we want to be able to Team Flare Grunt that energy off. Now, so Entangled Control, that allows us to do that. We can bring something up, bring something that doesn't have a very strong attack up to the active position, confused, and then even if they do try to attack, they may not make it through the confusion, so most likely they are going to try to retreat. That's one attack. Now, once we've got an opponent with, say, little energy on the board, we can then start using Trash Tentacle. And Trash Tentacle will hit for 30, so we can technically knock an opponent's Pokemon out, though it doesn't happen too often, but it is possible. We can use Trash Tentacle for 30, which is just 1 dark energy. And then you get to draw any card from your discard pile and put it back into your hand. So, if they don't have much energy on the board, we can grab a Trick Shovel, put it back in our hand, and next turn play Trick Shovel. So we can constantly be milling them, even with Malamar. Every single turn, Trick Shovel, Trick Shovel, Trick Shovel. But if they do have energy on the board, we can play Team Flare Grunt. And if they bring up someone from the bench that has a lot of energy, they may take a knockout on our Malamar, but we'll bring up another Malamar, use Entangled Control to bring up another one of their bench Pokemon, hopefully with a high retreat cost, and then keep Trash Tentacle that one, and keep grabbing Team Flare Grunts, Crushing Hammers, Enhanced Hammers, and Trick Shovels. We'll keep bringing them back to our hand to keep reusing them. And believe me, this can be very, very trolly, especially when someone has, say, a Double Dragon. So you play an Enhanced Hammer, knock the Double Dragon off. Then they also have 2 basic energies on there, and you play a Crushing Hammer, knock that off, and a Team Flare Grunt, and you can knock 4 energies off in 1 turn, and then still be able to pick up one of those that you just used and reuse it for next turn. It's just really crazy. So your opponents will get pretty ticked off when you do that. Alright, eventually though, they do usually take a few knockouts and our Malamars go down, but by then we've already caused them to have to work through their deck to try to find energy, which means they probably have been using Sycamores or something to get through their deck a little bit faster, and then we end the game with Bunnelby, so we just keep burrowing. One thing about this deck, we sometimes tend to get low, so we do have to know when to burrow and when to rototiller. But once you get set up, you can just usually keep a Team Flare Grunt in your hand and just keep knocking energy off. So, Bunnelby is kind of our ender. So those are our 2 main attackers. Let me just give you some let me give you some numbers on what I use. So for Inkay, I play 4, because we have to evolve into Malamar, which I play 4. Bunnelby's, I play 4. Alright, I do play one other Pokemon in the deck, and that is from Ancient Origins also. That is the Sableye. Now, the cool thing about Sableye is, if we're using Team Flare Grunt a lot, we still need to sometimes draw through our deck. And so with Bewitching Eyes, we can play a Team Flare Grunt, and we can still play a Sycamore or a Shauna or a Birch out of our opponent's discard pile. So if they use a supporter card, Bewitching Eyes says choose a supporter card from your opponent's discard pile and use it as as the effect of this attack. So Sableye here can come in really handy, especially at the beginning of the game, or if we get into a situation where we're just stuck, which doesn't happen a whole lot with this deck, but it can. So if we get stuck, Sableye can help us with Bewitching Eyes, get us out of a rut. Now, I do play 1 Shaman EX in this deck, but if you really want to go super, super budget on this, what I would recommend you do is take a Shaman out, take the 2 Ultra Balls out, add another level ball in, and add 2 more Sableyes, okay? And that will help keep the deck still consistent without needing the Shaman EX. That goes really super budget, so you'll go to just 4 level balls and no ultra balls in the deck. And I still think it'll play well. Matter of fact, there are some mini games where I don't even need to rely on the Shaman, and I don't even want to put that out to possibly get knocked out. So I don't. And then with that, then our opponent has to take 6 prize cards. So that's the Pokemon in this deck. By the way, I probably will play this deck, but I probably won't play it in person. I'll probably play it on PTCGO. I just thought since I already had the mat out, I would show this deck too. Okay, so let's look at the supporters. Now, believe it or not, Sycamore is actually one of the most expensive supporters. It actually runs about $2 to $2.50 right now. But I don't play 4 of them. I only play 2 of them in this deck. Again, I want to try to keep this super budget friendly. I mean, this is like one of the lowest decks that I've seen in a long time. Just about anybody should be able to afford this deck. We don't play any VS Seekers because we have Malamar to constantly get the card we need back. So we don't have to play any VS Seekers in this deck, which those right now are running like $6, $7, $8. And the standard deck runs 4 of those. We don't have to play any Muscle Bands, which are running about $4. We don't have to play any, we play just a minimum amount of Sycamores. And those staple cards that run $2 to $8 can really be break your budget if you're really in a low budget. So I don't play any of those. I play 2 Sycamores, so that's probably one of the most expensive cards in the deck. I do actually play 1 Birch, and the reason, and he's actually gone up because in standard you only have Birch, Sycamore, and Shauna. Birch has become pretty much a staple. I think most of the best players in the competitive scenery prefer Birch over Shauna. As far as me, I'm still debating. This jury's still out for me. But Birch has actually climbed to almost $2 each now also. So that for that reason, I've kept most of our draw support coming through Shauna, which is very budget friendly. I think last time I looked, they were still only $0.25 each. So you're going to be playing 4 Shaunas at 25 cents each. So there's 4 cards for $1 right there. Alright, our next thing is Team Flare Grunts. I haven't checked their price, but last time I looked, they weren't that expensive. I want to say they're probably around the 35 to 50% range. Maybe if you look carefully, you might even be able to find them in for cheaper than that. But 4 Team Flare Grunts, and I feel like 4 is just necessary because if we don't disrupt their energy, we are going to lose. So we have to play that. And then we play 1 Zero Sick. Zero Sick isn't that expensive either. I want to say he's probably less than 50 cents each. So that is our supporter line for this deck. Alright, moving right into our item cards. Play 2 Trainer's Mails. I'd like to play more, but I just have so much in the deck that I couldn't. I played 2 Ultra Balls, but if you're not playing Shaman, like I said, I recommend getting rid of the 2 Ultra Balls, putting an extra Sableye in, and then adding another level ball. Take out your Shaman. Actually put 2 Sableyes in, take out the Shaman and the 2 Ultra Balls, and then add an extra level ball. And we do play 3 level balls, so you'd have 4 if you did that route. We also play 4 Trick Shovels. We want to try to mill our opponent every time we have an opportunity. As far as disruption goes, we got to play 4 Crushing Hammers. We got to try to knock their energy off. Team Flare Grunt is good, but we also need to have hammers to help with that too. We play 2 Enhanced Hammers. The reason why I don't play more is because, you know, if you run into someone who doesn't play special energies, then those are dead cards in your hand. But if you do run into someone who plays a lot of special energy, these are going to knock 2 off, and then you could either use Malamar to get them back, or you can just use a Team Flare Grunt or a 0-6 to knock them off. So you usually don't have to worry about that too much. We do play one Startling Megaphone. Startling Megaphone helps us to get rid of tools, so if we're playing against Megas, if we can knock off their Spirit Links before they Mega Evolves, that can help give us an extra turn without an attack on us. So that can be very useful. We got one Escape Rope and 2 switches. We play 3 switching cards. Not sure how necessary it is, but it's really nice. Sometimes we're starting off with Bunnelby, and we want to either have Sableye or Malamar in the active. And so to have some switching cards to save our Bunnelbys toward the end of the game can be very useful. So that is our item line there. Alright, we do play a stadium. It's mostly a counter stadium, but it can also help us. It's a 3 silent labs. You know, we've got energy disruption in this deck. We're trying to mill them, but sometimes knocking off certain abilities can be useful. You know, being able to keep them from playing Shaman to help them set up, though we don't necessarily mind the draw power, but you know, there are other abilities that we just really don't like Malamar EX's ability to be able to put us to sleep. We don't want that to really be happening. So that can help control him from being able to do that. So that's our Silent Lab. And then finally our energies. We just run 8 Dark Energies, which works with Malamar, Sableye, or Bunnelby, and that pretty much is the deck. So I really encourage you to try this deck out. Just realize that when you know, it may take a little bit of getting used to, but once you get it, you really begin to see how powerful it is, how just common cards, common attackers, can really do a lot to win the game. Now again, let me remind you though, even though Malamar does hit for 30, you're pretty much not gonna be able to win the game on prizes. You really are trying for the deck out in this deck. So just keep that in mind when you play. And anyway, so that's it. Hit like. If I could get 10 to 20 likes on this video, just so that I know that you guys are really enjoying the content, it'll be an encouragement to me. So if you'll hit like, I'd really appreciate that. Hit subscribe if you haven't already to my channel, and please share a comment below. Anyway, guys, this is PokéDad. Talk to you later.